In Boris Johnson's new book, Unleashed, the former Prime Minister told of how Piers Morgan denounced him as a coward. He admitted the broadcaster hadn't been amused after he scrambled into a fridge with his team to avoid a media ambush over the state of the NHS. Boris, who'd come under fire for his health strategy during the COVID pandemic, shared how he was left paranoid by the exchange. As I got out of the car, all sorts of media folk with cameras were inviting me to come on their show, like hawkers in a bazaar, he shuddered. Someone representing the broadcaster Piers Morgan was particularly insistent. He told the representative that he'd be with him in a minute, but then made a dash into the fridge on the recommendation of his media team, arguing that he needed to be prepped. It was freezing cold, pitch black, and he was forced to use the light on someone's mobile phone to avoid total darkness in the dairy company's fridge. There was no other way out than through the front door of the fridge, he exclaimed, claiming that he was surrounded like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid at the end of the famous movie. He added, "The cameras of the nation's TV shows were trained on our fridge, like the rifles of the Bolivian army." Eventually, they had to emerge, only to be faced with national derision. An incontinent Piers Morgan denounced me as a coward and a fridge hider, Boris penned. Meanwhile, one of the Jew-hip Tory rebels, David Gauke, caused further embarrassing exposure by tweeting a public photo of himself hiding in the fridge. He'd accompanied it by an explanation that, unlike Boris, he'd have been willing to chat to Piers at any time. Boris, on the other hand, confessed that while he might seem to be making heavy weather of inconsequential media teapot tempests, they preyed on his mind as he was so paranoid. He wasn't wrong to fear the scrutiny of Piers Morgan, as he was on the warpath following a fierce GMB showdown. Piers has been critical of Boris for years, blasting him in particular for lockdown rules which had seen the late Queen sitting alone at her husband's funeral. On BBC show Sunday with Laura Kuntzberg, he raged, "The idea that Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock are off making millions of pounds off the back of this catastrophic failure of leadership, in this crucial moment for our country, I find sickening." He branded the then Tory PM shameful, and when he invited Rory Stewart onto his uncensored show on Talk TV, the latter agreed that Boris had behaved like a shambolic clown.